many people really enjoy rooting for a particular sports team.
Yes.
Okay, so for some reason, my younger brother Dan really likes rooting for the Miami Dolphins.
Not from Miami.
No, from North Central Ohio. I don't think he's ever been to Miami actually, but started as a kid and really just liked the team and has kept up with them and roots for them and whatever. And if you think about it, it's really weird because not only are we not from Miami or Florida or anywhere close to it, but the team that he started rooting for back when he was a kid, the players have changed, the coaches changed, they probably have a new stadium, the uniforms have changed.
That's true.
Like, what is he rooting for? Like, it doesn't really exist anymore based on when and that's really weird. Mm-hmm. There's actually a social phenomenon that explains this. Mm-hmm. And this is a concept called clanning. Okay? Clanning is that humans are very social creatures. We form groups. We like, interacting and working with other people. Mm-hmm. And we're very influenced by what we consider to be people who are in our group and people who are not in our group.
So you can put yourself in a cool group by being a fan of...
Exactly. Okay? And this is also one of the reasons that sports rivalries get so intense, even though they don't really mean anything. It's not that... It's like...
No offense.
You have your tribe... that are the good guys, and then there's the other tribe who are the bad guys,
right?
And you root against them because they're not your group, right? Even though it really doesn't, it doesn't mean that much.
Right.
It's not that big of a deal,
right?
But this in-group, out-group thing tends to happen very naturally and somewhat automatically. There's a wonderful, if not slightly disturbing, experiment.
Yes.
That happened several decades ago, and it was called the Robbers Cave experiment. And another, famous social psychology experiment. They got this group of 22 young boys. I believe they were ages 11, 12, somewhere around that area. And they controlled the experiment, so these boys were as alike as human individuals could possible. Same family background. They did IQ assessment, same relative intelligence, same, family, social structure, as identical as they could make these boys. That's how they were selected. Mm-hmm. And they picked 22 of them. And they said, congratulations, you're going to summer camp at Robbers Cave State Park in Oklahoma. And what they did was they split this group of 22 boys into two groups of 11. Mm-hmm. And they put one group at one end of the camp, and the other group at the other end of the camp. Mm-hmm. And they were going to let them bond a little bit, and then later on, they were going to get the groups together and see what they did. Okay, there would probably be serious ethics violations in this experiment now, but it was done, and it was very, very useful. So here's what happened. Okay, the boys, would bond, and, there's a couple scuffles as the group kind of gelled, but, natural leaders formed, and people started to differentiate and do certain things, pretty much as expected. What they didn't expect is that the groups found each other much more quickly than anticipated, about a week or so earlier. Mm-hmm. And as soon as that happened, okay, they were no longer their self-contained little group. Mm-hmm. They were their group, and there was another group. Yeah. Okay, and that was a bad thing.
It was an us and them.
Us and them, in-group, out-group. Okay, and what happened is these groups started forming very quickly separate identities. Mm-hmm. Okay, so one group called themselves the Eagles, and put them as the made this image of themselves as these honest, straightforward good kids, heroic people. And the other group was the Rattlers, and
to try to be as different from these guys as possible.
Right. They were the Mavericks, the Misfits. They were the kids who swore, and they were the badasses. And what happened is they formed these two groups very quickly, and then they would fight. So there would be raids on the other, and fist fights and all of the
serious ones,
put downs, and they actually had to separate physically the groups for a while, and even then, they would find ways to get at each other. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we tend to form clans as human beings. We also tend to not like other clans that aren't ours for reasons we'll talk about in a minute. But this social structure popped up. The summer camp's counselors were actually psychologists who were watching this whole thing developing. And it astounded them how quickly this happened. I mean, literally in a matter of hours, once they found out that another competing group existed, their group was more important, and they started forming this very firm social identity within themselves. And so, this, the resolution of the experiment was they actually found a way to get these groups back together. But interestingly enough, it was by having challenges that required both groups to actually work together to solve. So there was another thing more important than that separate identity became, which, as a side note, they posited that the only way to, for world peace to ever take place, these different groups to stop clanning together, is for, some alien intelligence to come in from outside and give us something to fight there.
Yeah, I was just thinking about all the wars that we've seen in the past 10, 20 years.
So, understand that clanning is a very natural force. There's nothing really wrong with it. There's nothing evil about it.
Yeah.
But it happens very quickly and very naturally. And so, one of the things that you can actually use this for, and Seth Godin wrote an entire book about this called Tribes.
Oh, yeah.
And, in Escape from Cubicle Nation, Pam Slim talks about finding your people, your clan, your group of people that you are leading. Businesses form around this stuff. Your clan, your group, the people that you're serving, and the identity builds there too. I mean, think of, probably, in the technology world, Microsoft people versus Apple people.
Yeah.
It's a clan. It's a very big one. But those identities tend to form anytime you see, an in-group and an out-group or two diametrically opposed, philosophies or ways of doing things.
And it can be a really rich source of information for you too, because you as the business owner probably will not know, or you will probably not decide all of the things that tribe becomes.
Right.
So once you have one, figure out, take information from them and bring it back into the business, and then it's going to be even stronger.
Right. So understanding that clanning is a natural force, it happens all the time. It even happens within companies. Two different ideas of, running things. If as the company grows larger, you'll have clans or cliques or whatever you want to call them. They naturally form. Okay. It's sometimes it's seen as a bug. It's actually a feature. People form together to work together for a common purpose, and it happens naturally. That's clanning.